tonight. 0.0 starters likely to play, but the NFL does kick off the Hall of Fame game. As the meme goes, tell your wives and girlfriends that don't like football, I'm sorry, honey. Football's here until after Valentine's Day. So we're buckled up. We're going tonight. Now, I saw an article out of the Washington Post, and it was exactly what I was thinking.
I saw a lot of articles, but did you read it is the question.
Oh, you know. I read it until they tell me I need to subscribe. The new kickoff format will be the star of the NFL's preseason because the reality is, Aaron Rodgers spoke about it yesterday. Most teams, other than John Harbaugh in Baltimore, most teams neglect to play the starters. It just doesn't make sense. Injury risks, they don't do it. But what we're going to see is the introduction to these new kickoff rules. And if you don't care about the backups playing, trying to find a spot, there was something interesting there. But I think seeing how the new kickoff rules affect the game is such an understated thing. People talk about nonsense. There's people that talk for an hour about Jason Tatum not getting minutes.
I was listening to some stupid show right here on Fox Sports Radio. I was talking about saucy nugs at Wendy's.
That was us.
Oh, was it?
Yes.
I'm sorry. That was our replay. My bad. That was us on the podcast.
Yeah.
But there are people that talk about stuff where I'm like, who cares? I think this is like one of the most understated things.
Well, there's two parts of it that I find intriguing, Rich, because Rich keeps talking about it, and I appreciate that, Rich, because maybe people aren't really taking notice. The strategy, the strategery involved, and which teams are going to lean into it and sort of shy away from it. Like which teams are going to put their star players out there and which teams don't find it to be that important.
I'm not comparing it to fourth down, but there are some coaches that are old school traditional that unless it's 4th and inches or 4th and 1, they're not going for it. They're punting, right? 4th and 1, automatically bring out the punt unit. Other coaches are more risky. They got more huevos in those situations. It could backfire, a la Dan Campbell. And then there's other coaches that put more emphasis on certain things. And I think you're going to see that there are some teams that are spending a lot of time figuring out how can we change the game with field position using these new kicking rules? And other teams might just put it on the back burner like, all right, special teams, you're good? All right, good. And you'll see Exhibit A tonight. And
what do you think you'll see?
Listen, the thing is,
do you think you'll see less like a real game changer?
The hope is less injuries, more excitement, which is like what the goal is for anything in any sport, right? More excitement, less injuries. There's penalties for touchbacks now.
Tastes great, less filling.
Because what's more boring than anything? Opening kickoff, you see the quarterback start trotting out already because the ball, is going through the back of the end zone.
Yeah, that's weak. Yeah, we got to get over that. That's the weakest part of football. So they're fixing it.
Do you remember when the extra point was so automatic that as a kid you were like, yeah, touchdown 7, because the chance of someone missing an extra point was like, what? No way.
It's like the first 2 episodes of Cobra Kai this season. Weak. We got to get past that. And hopefully it gets better. Like episode 3. Gets better.
You're going to see more spacing on the field, so it's going to resemble more of a punt return.
Yes. And again, you're fixing 2 problems, like Rich said. Less injury, that's the goal, and more excitement. Because who cares when the ball trickles into the end zone?
So the person kicking the ball will start from their 35-yard line. Now, the return team is allotted a minimum of 9 and a maximum of 10 between the 30 and 35-yard line. I don't want to get into all the nonsense, but point is, a touchback now goes back, am I wrong to say the 35-yard line? Like, if you kick it through the back of the end zone, I'm pretty sure the team gets the ball at the 35, which is pretty awesome field position to just watch the ball bounce out the back of the end zone. So teams are not going to just boot it off the field.
And people are going to speculate and debate if it's
30
or
yard
not.
line. If the ball's kicked out of the end zone, you start at the 30, so that's 5 more yards than we're used to. So we're talking about already there's a penalty, essentially, for kicking it out of the end zone.
I don't want to compare it to the changes in baseball in the past few years, but you still have those debates. Hey, how do you like the guy starting at second base in the extra inning? You like it? And some people do and some people don't. I think it's made the game a lot better. Little adjustment, you roll with it. I think it's cool, and I think we're going to find this to be a good change for the NFL. But there will still be people that complain. I guarantee it.
Yeah.
Much like everything on social media, and as the meme goes, as the joke goes, you could post a picture of a stick. People are going to argue about it.
It's more of a twig, dude.
That's not a stick. That's a branch. And you're going to have people fighting over it. People are going to say, yeah, this is pretty good. And then there's people who are going to be like, leave well enough alone. This is stupid.
Did yesterday's news of the onside kick no longer being a surprise bother either of you?
It does take a little bit of the surprise element away, but onside kicks don't work much more anyway, and I don't think...
Not a little bit. You have to announce that you're going to do an onside kick. Yeah.
I think most onside kicks are not a surprise anyway, because you know the scenario in which, what the situation and the story of the game is.
Unless it was the Super Bowl
Unless
coming
it's
right
Super
out of the
Bowl
halftime.
And you're, Sean Payton.
Colts know what I'm talking about.
Yikes.
Yeah, bust out the hands team. So that all goes down tonight. So if you have Thursday night plans, you do now, the Hall of Fame game. And like Rich said, you're not going to see any superstars, but you're going to see some of the changes.
Except for
how it's
Bagent.
going to work. You're going to see Tyson Bagent, super Bagent man, who we talked about this week. He's that young kid who grinds his face off. That was the quote. Who we sort of liked his mentality of, so that other situations in life don't seem as bad. So we'll see what he's all about on the field. Bears, Texans tonight. Football begins. And any other predictions, Rich, as far as,
stats
like you said, it's the star of the game. The change is the star of the game right now.
The stats are predicting a 5 to 10 yard difference in starting field position if teams execute this the way they want. So a lot of times, old school football, old school meaning as of last year, most kickoffs to the back of the end zone, quarterback's jogging out, they read the starting lineup, as it's happening. Because the opening kickoff, how often is it returned? It felt like never.
Pretty much.
They're saying that the average field position could be in the 30-yard line range opposed to in the 20. So we're looking at a 5 to 10-yard different starting field position. Now, that might affect your over-unders in gambling. That might affect ball control and, field position. So, listen, we'll see. I just think it's one of the more interesting things in a typically boring, no starters preseason game.
Are you the type of guy that is just going to roll with it, or you're going to have your complaints?
I roll with it. I love
Same.
I thought I would hate baseball rule changes. The pitch clock, no one cares anymore.
The bases,
no one cares anymore.
guy on second,
no one cares anymore.
Exactly.
Still don't like the guy on second.
You don't, huh? See, that's what I mean. Like, there's always, you're never going to please everybody, and I understand that. I had that conversation this week with my Uncle Joe. He's still like, I don't know if I like that. And I'm like, you know what? That's the rule. I'm rolling with it. I like it. It just is what it is.
I should know this as a big baseball fan, but keep in mind, my Mets never make the postseason. Maybe this year, cross your fingers. Since they put the guy on second base, am I wrong or right by saying that in the playoffs that is not the case?
Right. It goes away for the postseason.
It goes away for the postseason.
Yes.
So
how about this?
Listen, during a regular game, like the other day, game in July, August, Yankees-Phillies went to extra innings. That game could have went 15, 16 innings. You start with a guy on second, game's over in 10 or 11 innings, which is nice. No
Seems
one
like
wants
COVID, though. COVID rules, like sample cups or no sample cups at the froyo place.
Yeah.
Like just being lazy. Now it's carried over, even post-COVID.
Yeah.
I do wonder.
Make up your mind.
My last thought on this, and I'm not the first to bring it up because I know teams are thinking about it.
Or the last.
But when I say think of the most athletic receivers and running backs on a team, who comes to mind? Like a Deebo Samuel, a Tyreek Hill. Who's got some speed? Like
running
a Justin
back,
Jefferson, McCaffrey. Are you going to see teams?
DK Metcalf?
Yeah, are you going to see those caliber guys lined up in special teams? I know Deebo Samuel has showed interest because he's like, yo, with these rules, imagine Deebo getting the ball before anyone could move.
Well, that's what I was implying when I said the strategy. Certain teams might lean into it, some might not. And then some might follow suit if it seems to be working for players like Deebo Samuel.
Or it could be like a speedster like Xavier Worthy, the draft pick of the Chiefs.
Yeah.
A young receiver who's got wheels.
Yeah.
Again, and you know what? A young guy with wheels that may not get the reps he wants, but could contribute more so on special teams than ever before.
What did he run, a 4.2 something? 4.1 something? What was he running? Anyway, that dude was quick. Now, speaking of new rules, Rich, how do you feel about women when they say...